Out there, in the outlands, a man stands alone. He has two things in his hand. A cardboard box full of more cardboard and plastic, and a computer running on some kind of Wi-Fi with a Kickstarter campaign. If you look at the screen, we can see that there is a simple button that says, "Do you wish to start your Kickstarter campaign?" His name is Mark McKinnon. The game in his hand is Wreck and Ruin. My name is Richard, and this is We're Not Wizards, the speaking with a movie voice edition of Wreck and Ruin. And I can't do this.
You hurt your throat.
I've hurt my throat already. I've got to get a drink. This is bad. Hi Mark, how you doing?
I'm fine, Richard. How are you?
I'm feeling good myself. We have decided tonight we're doing a quick start on the Kickstart. And in order to do something special and different, we're gonna be doing it with movie voices, eh? Aren't we? Yes. Say hello. Say hello. This is just gonna descend into chaos. First of all, for everybody joining us tonight, thank you for joining us. The reason that we do this is quite simply because I have one goal, which is to be able to name drop every single board game designer that has ever been into my show. And in order to do this, I have decided to embark on a quest to speak to as many board game designers as possible. This is We're Not Wizards. And this is probably the worst episode to start listening for us for the first time, isn't it, Mark? So how you doing anyway? How's things? Enough of the nonsense, because we've got enough time for nonsense, but how are things with you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm getting ramped up for everything over here, so yeah, fun times.
It's exciting. When you launching?
3rd of October. So
that's not that long ago at all. That's not
long
ago.
No.
Is it almost like, is it kind of like they're being in the same place as it was when you were expecting like your first child, except you've kind of got a due date kind of thing?
It's strange because having Luke was like, you know, I'm building up to something, you know when, roughly when it's coming, but, you know, this, you know, it was always there, but I had no idea when it was going to pop out.
What's exactly going to be happening with it and stuff like that? Because we spoke quite some time ago. Well, it wasn't that time ago, and I was thinking it must have been like the beginning of the year. And I was thinking it was something along that, and then I think, well, the beginning of the year wasn't that long ago, and then I remember that the beginning of the year was now almost 10 months ago. So that is a considerable kind of time away.
Yeah, I think it's about April.
Yeah,
maybe.
Something like that. I'm going to check. Let's just have a check. Here we go. There we go. It was. Wreck. This is when we used to do kind of clever titles for the shows. But then I went back and I changed it. So that was on... No, it's the 26th, yeah. So it was actually 5 months ago, which is kind of... That's pretty good.
Scary stuff, yeah.
Because when we spoke... You had the rules. You had pretty much 95% of everything kind of done. You were still going about with the kind of the lovely kind of Play-Doh-esque type miniatures as well, because it can't have been that long after, or was it?
Was it before Divorce?
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, before Tabletop Day.
Yeah, it was. Because I met Sarah that day, and I met yourself,
and we became the Charlie's Angels, don't forget that bit.
We did become the Charlie's Angels, didn't we? We became the Charlie's Angels with Justin from Bad Cat Games, which is always kind of good fun. And we still got the photograph somewhere. They're still horrifically 3 guys with receding hairlines. I don't think Justin's got it. Has Justin got a receding hairline?
I don't know. I think mine receding is I'm way past that.
I'm just trying to be polite like mine, because I look at all I've got now is just got like more and more and more kind of face to wash, and it's just quite disconcerting. I think I spend more on moisturiser than I do on shampoo. I think is the way to look at it. This is the thing when you do movie voices, it just completely wrecks your voice. It's not the first time I've had a tickle. But I mean, since we spoke in April, I mean, what's been happening? What you been up to? What you been doing with your bad self?
Well, I think the first kind of major thing that happened after that was UK Games Expo. So that was my first time at the expo. You know, I had a stand there, but it was my first time, you know, even just attending, and it was completely unbelievable. You know what I mean? I went in there as a completely wet behind the ears, and I'm like, not really sure what to expect from the whole experience. Not really sure about the reception that my game's going to get. But I went down and actually, Peter Blenkarn was doing my models for me. He was printing them off for me.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I'm travelling down, and at this point, I don't even know if my models are going to be there. Yeah, I mean, I was like, see, if I have to do this whole weekend and I have no game to show, this is going to be a disaster. So the clay ones did come with me, as a like complete emergency, but luckily they did not. I didn't have to break them out.
But they are fantastic, and I hope you still got them.
I have, yeah. It's been suggested that I should make it some insanely priced, a one-off pledge, just because they're completely one of a kind. It's the only set I've got.
I wonder if you could scan them and actually make them as alternative kind of model sets as a kind of a stretch goal as time goes on, because that would be cool as well. You could have the Wreck and Ruin from the beginning, kind of Wreck and Ruin Redux, or something like that. I don't know if that's what you would call it. So you went to the expo, and what was the reception for the game? I mean, did you go down? Was it a kind of like an almost ready to go copy? Did Peter turned up with your vehicles? Yeah,
Peter turned up with the vehicles, but they had to be resin printed, so they came out in black and grey. So I went down with my paint set, and I had to get them painted up in the faction colours. So I managed to rope my brother in to help me, and the pair of us were sitting up till 1 o'clock in the morning, just to give them a lick of paint, so that they were playable the next day. And and then we got up like 5 hours later to
oh my goodness,
to head over and get set up.
So, I mean, is it exciting because you go into an exhibition? Because I think you usually do have to go a couple of hours. You have to go in, you've got to get in, so you have to get yourself set up. You have to find where you are. You have to set up all your equipment. You've got to set up your stands. You've got to get everything kind of looking right. Did you go through how many times did you go through the components and make sure that you had them all?
I checked about 5 times before leaving the house. A further twice when I got there.
Oh, goodness sake.
And yeah. But the feeling from Expo is just, it's such an electric atmosphere. I can't explain it. I mean, my stand, I was basically pretty far away from the door. There was one stand, and then I was like the back wall. But they do a countdown for the people coming in, and after the countdown, there was just this like rush of air and noise just hits you as people enter, and it's just the strangest thing ever. You know that way, like you feel all the hairs and the back of your neck, everything just stands up, and you're like, it's game time.
It's the buzz, isn't it? It's the buzz of human electricity kind of approaching you with that kind of level of power. And usually it's not just the body odour as well.
Yeah, that was to come later.
And that's a joke for everybody that thinks that I think that gamers are smelly. You're not. You're all lovely. Musk is good. But what was the general reaction to the game then? What kind of feedback did you get back? I mean, was there people? Was there a kind of a big difference? Did you get kind of the very positive and the slightly less positive on the day?
I went down with the intention of getting people to kind of sign up to my newsletter. You know, I didn't have anything to sell there, so it was my only way of basically keeping in touch with anyone that liked the game. And I think I had everybody bar one person signed up to it. So yeah, I didn't know what to expect. You know, I went to the press preview first in the corner, so I headed over there and then like 10 minutes to spare to rush back with my game to set it up for everyone else to see. And I came back and my brother said, some of the stands just been over checking you out. And I was like, what do you mean? He says, oh, they kind of sneaked over and they were having a look at your models, seeing what you're doing and all that kind of stuff. But I looked at them and they just kind of scurried away. Yeah. And I was like, all right. And I think it was Wordforge Games that do Devil's Run.
Oh yeah, okay.
So yeah, they were coming to have a little sniff. So the fact that I'd got their attention, I think, was a kind of good sign to start with. You know, if they're maybe starting to sweat a little bit over there.
Which is always good. How, so you come back from the expo and do you just start telling people kind of straight away? Did you have an overall game plan? I mean, in that kind of 5 months, have you had a detailed plan of how you're going to be doing something? Because if there's one thing we can say about yourself is, I don't think there's a week goes by without there's some kind of noise coming from the McKinnon camp, basically. Yeah. So has that been something that you've decided you have to do kind of every week?
Yeah, I kind of decided that right now, you know, up to that point, I was kind of lurking about in the shadows. So, you know, the light was on me now, and I was like, right, I'm going to have to start producing something to keep people interested. And so, yeah, I decided that it started off, I think Monday was my posting day, and that did slip pretty quickly into a Tuesday and then maybe even a Wednesday, you know, as it does. But I always I would do it like a kind of, I posted as a kind of developer diary kind of idea, where I kind of said, you know, I just kind of highlighted a section of the game, said, you know, this is what's happening, or have a look at this faction, this is what they're about, or, you know, just highlight a mechanic or a bit of the lore of the game and talk about that. But then in between that, I was also getting 3D sculpt files in, so as soon as one of them came in, I was like, I must share this, you know, people have to see this.
I mean, you weren't kind of very secretive. I mean, I know there's I've seen a lot of games now, whether it be because they're trying to keep a suspense or a bit of mystery, but they try and keep kind of things hidden away, and it was almost like you were, I don't know, it was, there was trust from your side, I think, in that the fact that you were saying, okay, here's the latest file with the latest kind of vehicle. You know, here's the scout vehicle. What do you guys think of this? Or here's the big rig. What do you guys think of that? Again, was that something you just decided to do, just to say, well, you know, if somebody's gonna copy the theme or the idea, then, you know, that's potentially gonna happen anyway. So I might as well just kind of show my hand and let people follow along as they kind of go.
Well, as I was doing my research, one of the things that came up was the kind of, the tendency to not want to tell people your idea in case they steal it. But then everybody basically said nobody has the time or inclination to, basically your idea is rubbish until you do something with it. Yeah. Is the general consensus. So, like you said, if somebody's going to copy it, they're going to copy it. So all I can do is get my stuff out there to show people it, to, you know, hopefully get their interest. And even if they do copy it, it's kind of almost time-stamped, if you like, that, you know, what I've done at that time, so at least there is a kind of paper trail, if you like to say, well, I did it first.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, a creative person, I think it's difficult for a non-creative person to go ahead and just copy something blind, because I think it misses out the certain factors that make that magic kind of happen in the first place. Yeah. So I could take Wreck and Ruin and I could copy it, but I wouldn't be able to explain it to somebody else off the bat without having to refer to the rules, and then I would look stupid.
Yeah.
More stupider than normal. I'm conscious we're kind of skirting on the outskirts of the Outlands and the main issue. Obviously one of the reasons I want to get you back on is because this game is imminently going to get launched on Kickstarter very, very soon.
Yes.
Have the rules changed a lot since we last spoke? Have you continued to kind of refine it?
I've kind of, when I started sending out to reviewers and stuff like that, there was kind of feedback coming back, and just general kind of ambiguity maybe with some of the wording in the rules. So it wasn't that the rules were bad, it was just, you know, I used the wrong words perhaps in certain sections. So my game runs on an action point system, so everything costs you an action. Mm-hmm. And I made the mistake of saying, like, at the start of your round, at the start of a new round, the very first action that you take is that you draw an event card. And so,
right, okay.
So the feedback was, you know, does that cost you an action?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's actually just because I didn't think about my wording. So the rules themselves haven't really changed. I've recently changed a rule just because of the feedback I got from Polyhedron Collider.
Yes.
It wasn't something that I'd actually even considered before that, mainly because I've been quite lucky that when I demo the game, it goes up to 4 players, and the majority of the time I have 3, if not 4 players.
Yeah.
So I've not had as much kind of one-on-one time with the game.
Mm-hmm.
And a relatively easy fix, you know, I've literally stuck in 2 lines of text, which fixes the problem.
Alright, okay.
But, yeah, just, you know, just little things like that you kind of, when you're in your own bubble, you might not think about it the same way as other people do.
So, speaking of review, you mentioned Polyhedron Collider. Hello, guys. If you're listening, I know they listen. So.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys. Hello to John. Still my favourite. Steve's my favourite as well, though. And Andy. Hello, Andy.
Yeah, he's alright.
He's alright. But they had a lot of positive things to say about the game. A lot of positive things to say about the game. I think they kind of they gushed about it a bit. They were overwhelmingly positive about it.
I was very surprised at that.
Why? They're not that horrible.
Well, I had a discussion with Andy the other day on Facebook. We were talking about reviews and such like that, and I've just flat out said to him, to be honest, I was a bit apprehensive about sending my game to you, basically because you don't pull your punches with your reviews.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's not that I can't take the criticism, it's just that maybe just didn't want to hear it if it was there kind of thing, so.
Oh, I think it's a difference between, I think it's a big difference between, you know, kind of accepting criticism when it's less permanent criticism. Because I could, you know, okay, take it back to the expo, okay, I could play the game and I could play it for 15 minutes and then I could walk away and just say, well, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And that's temporary, it's temporary criticism. You know, somebody could say, well, listen, I think you should have 3 action points instead of 4 because it gives you too much kind of leeway to do whatever you want. Again, it's temporary criticism. But if you've got somebody like Polyhedron Collider, or, you know, where they write a review and maybe as well as have a review on the podcast, that's something that's kind of etched in stone.
Yeah.
So I guess if you kind of want your one,
Chance,
if you want your kind of one chance in the sun, you want them to be kind of more kind of positive than
you want to put your
negative.
best foot forward.
Aye, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. Have you had any other kind of review? Because I guess this is the other thing, is because you seem to be very planned and very, very organised. All the reviews seem to be hitting now. There seems you seem to have it all kind of ready to go, with people actually saying, well, listen, we have done a review on this and this is what we think. Have you had other reviews back from other places as well?
Whenever I get a review in, I basically post and share it straight away. So, nothing else has came in, but I'm hoping I'm basically got a few more kind of lurking, shall we say.
All right, okay.
Well, I've not even seen them myself, but I know that they are due. So,
yeah.
Unfiltered Gamer, they're they're due to put something out. So that I think he's just waiting for the campaign itself.
Okay, that'll be cool.
I spoke to Mr. Leafdy at Gamer Leaf.
Good old Blake. Yep. Hey Blake, he's
Blake,
a friend
how
of
you doing?
He's a good friend of the show. Hey Blake. We like Blake. If you haven't listened to Getting Gamey, was it Getting Gamey with Gamer Leaf?
Yes.
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf. Sorry, he's going to kill me for saying that wrong. Give it a listen. He's very family friendly. He brings his kids on. It's a lot of fun. He does more episodes than we do. No idea how he does it. I don't think the boy sleeps, to be perfectly honest.
The guy's an animal.
He's pretty much. I think he pretty much is.
Or a robot.
Yeah, one or t'other, basically. Let's jump into the game. Let's remind everybody how you would go about, you know, not only getting a bit wrecky, but getting a bit Rooney Marky.
Right.
Tell me.
I'm getting my game face on.
Get your game face on. Put your film voice on.
The world as we know it has been destroyed, leaving nothing but a barren wasteland. From the ashes of our civilization, 4 factions emerge, ready to fight over what is left.
Oh, this is brilliant. I didn't expect you to go in and actually do the voice again.
It had to be done.
It had to be done.
Yes.
What are the names of the factions? You sounded a bit Australian there.
It's my go-to. I only have one generic.
Only one generic voice.
Yeah, one string to my bow.
It's like me and Michael Caine. I'll try and get a Michael Caine impression in any time I can, because I think it's the only one I think I can do. And then somebody pointed out, that's very good, Morgan Freeman, you do.
You do a good Michael Caine. I've got to give you that. It was better than Collins.
I don't know.
But I'm not even going to attempt it.
No. Go on. No. Tell us about the game.
Right.
Because we're not doing a Frank West here.
Right. So, what we're doing is the Earth has been destroyed decades before the time that we're playing in. 4 factions have emerged basically through necessity, drive about in heavily armed and armoured vehicles. And what they do is they search the wasteland for what remains of our technology. So, lost technology in their time. And yeah, the game basically revolves around the fact that you're controlling one of these factions who have, shall we say, disagreements about who owns said property.
Yes, TIFs.
Yes.
I think you could call them.
Yes. And so the game basically revolves around areas of strategic importance, which are salvage sites. They're represented on the board with tokens, and you have to, on your turn, you basically have to occupy one of those tokens, and that kind of represents you raiding the building, stripping it out all the technology so that you can either repurpose it as a weapon or something that your faction can use in the future, or trade it for food to live a bit longer. So the kind of central mechanic of the game is that there are these 4 salvage sites which kind of attract attention and therefore also violence.
As they do.
Yeah. So what would happen is in a 4-player game, well, it doesn't matter how many players, it works the same, but what would happen is player 1 takes their turn. They use their 5 action points to activate their vehicles. Each vehicle has a different move and attack, armor stat, all those kind of things. Kind of what you'd see in any kind of dungeon crawler, but kind of vehicleized.
Yeah.
Is that a word?
Yeah, that's a word.
Well,
it's a word. It's a word now, Mark.
It's a word now, yeah. It's going in the Urban Dictionary.
Vehicleized. Sounds like you've had too many vehicles. He looks a bit vehicleized over there. We'll have Cesar back in doing his Somerset impression again. Anyway, so you do your...
you get 5 actions, so what you do is you'd activate a vehicle to move. That would be one of your actions, basically, to move one of your vehicles onto one of these tokens. And any tokens that are occupied at the start of the next player's turn basically get flipped over. So they start red side up, and they then get flipped to green, which show that they are about to score. So player 2 then has their turn. They've got their 5 actions as well, and they then have the choice of, do they chase down their own salvage sites? You know, there's another 3 on the table, they're not occupied.
Yeah.
Or do they try and stop player 1 from scoring theirs? So what would happen is they have to basically damage the vehicle that's occupying a green token, which, if they are successful, it turns it back to red, which basically stops it from scoring that turn. But it still activates again on subsequent turns. So you can decide, you can damage the vehicle just enough to stop them scoring, but then it means that player 3 has an additional worry. Like if player 2 occupies and a second salvage site, there's then 2 turn green, so both players are potentially going to score a point. Who do they attack? And then you could use it as a tactical kind of decision to say, right, I'll let him stay on it, but I'm not going to bother hurting him anymore and just let the next player deal with it. It's their problem now.
Yeah.
So what would happen is, one of your actions that you can spend your points on is attacking a vehicle. So each vehicle has a set number of dice that they roll. So their attack value basically equals number of dice. So for instance, the second biggest vehicle is the Wrecker. Wrecker's basically, his job is to destroy everything. He's got the highest armour, so he has 2 choices. He can attack at range, which is basically he'll roll 2 dice, and any result that is equal or higher than the target's armour does damage. And of course, anyone that has seen the pictures of my game, when a vehicle takes damage, it takes damage. We take a little orange flame peg out the bag and literally stick it into the model, and then it's on fire.
Which is spectacular.
Yes.
I mean, there's no 2 ways about it. Is when you actually see the photographs of this, you've probably never seen something similar in a board game with regards to how something kind of takes damage. I mean, normally you'll have, if it is a dungeon crawler game, there'll be little blood things, counters that you put under the person to signify damage, or a little heart that you take off somebody to signify damage, or if it's, but physically actually putting a visible damage on an item is extremely evocative, especially when you get to the point, now Mark will correct me on this, but especially when you get to the point where the vehicle itself becomes a wreck, because usually the last token that you place is like a black smoked token to just show that thing is pretty much a wreck, isn't it?
Yes, that is correct. So,
there you go.
I'm surprised that nobody had thought of this before. I just assumed that it was already a thing. But yeah, like the feedback that comes back from reviewers and stuff like that is that there's no need to look over the table to check out someone else's health tracker.
Yeah.
I could have quite easily done the game with, a card for each vehicle which tracked the damage on that, but it doesn't have the same effect.
No, I've seen it used in the others, I think, where you get little kind of heart tokens, but again, they're not on the player, they're actually on the player board, so you still have to look over and see it. But as I say, it's a very physical thing, not just having kind of a token that you put on. Where have I seen it? I've
only seen battleships. That's the only...
Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure maybe there was one other game I saw that had little red tokens, but it might have just been a little kid's toy that you stuck the little red tokens at the side of it, and that maybe signified damage. But I've never seen it anywhere else. So you can look up and you can see the state of the game kind of instantly, because once a vehicle becomes kind of wrecked, that's when the fun kind of begins, isn't it? Yeah.
So what happens is when each vehicle has a set number of peg holes, which represents the amount of damage it can do, that it can take. So, for instance, a buggy it has 3 holes. It can take 3 damage. So the vehicle will run as normal while it has damage. But it's only when the third peg goes on, which is the final nail in the coffin. Like you said, you put in the black one, which then represents that it's wrecked. And then what happens is it crashes and burns.
Crashes, burns. Brilliant.
So what happens is that when the vehicle's destroyed, it was moving at high speed when it was destroyed, so it doesn't just stop, just because you've killed it. It basically, there's nobody at the wheel, and it kind of just spins off out of control a little bit, kind of ends up randomly, a couple of hexes further down the board, which is alright if there's nobody near it.
Yeah.
But when you have the situation that the player has clumped all the vehicles together in like a protective herd, and then you take out something in the middle, and whatever direction it's going, it's basically going to crash into something else. It's quite rewarding.
Because it is a case of it's strange, because when you look at the board, you see it looks like you've got like static vehicles, but it's almost a case that you're kind of magnifying what's happening, because the vehicles are kind of constantly on the move, is the impression that I get, so that when they do end up wrecked, it's very much like, it's kind of like any end of the last third of maybe Mad Max 2 or the last one of Fury Road, where you've just got them racing across the desert and they're constantly doing that, and that's why the wrecking mechanic is so rewarding, because this is it getting taken apart and it's heading towards the tire wasteland and bursting into flames. And join us for free popcorn.
The show was brought to you by
exactly, and we're sponsored today by no, but that's the whole point. I mean, it is kind of like almost a representation that the vehicles are kind of constantly moving back and forward, fighting against each other. So when a vehicle does wreck, it kind of goes out of control, and it's all quite kind of rewarding. It's you've kind of designed it not to be particularly rules heavy in terms of what people can do, but you've brought in kind of other conditions as well in terms of that you don't ever wreck. You're never ever out the game. A wreck is just basically a kind of it's a destroyed vehicle that hasn't had a good mechanic at it.
Yes.
Because you can bring your vehicles back in, can't you?
I think that the game started off with but I knew I didn't want player elimination. That's something that just sucks, especially if it would be, it could end up being quite a long game. And I found, like, with some of the playtests it was in a situation where a certain player sometimes gets bullied. So they think they're smart, they move the big rig, which is their kind of biggest, strongest vehicle, onto one of the markers, and then you find that the next two players just spend all their actions to just take it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then when a vehicle, like we said, when it's wrecked, we do the crash and burn. If you roll a 1 on the crash and burn table, it explodes and is removed from the table.
Yeah.
And it can also, when it moves as part of the crash and burn, if it moves off the edge of the table, it's also out of play. Now, previous iterations of the rules, basically, once it was off, it was off.
Yeah.
But I noticed then that if that happens to you in turn 1, that's pretty sucky. You can't really recover from something like that.
No.
So that's when I kind of introduced mechanics, basically, so that you can be down, but you'll never be out. So you can, even if it comes off the table, you can always buy it back in. But what it does is it just starts tying up your action points, which are the valuable resources that you have.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, bringing a vehicle on could help you, but means that you can do less with the vehicles you already have. So it's a judgment call.
But it's keeping it balanced though as well, because otherwise if you had kind of like player elimination, then quite simply what's going to happen is you could get that gang up scenario, but you end up going from a 3-player game down to a kind of a 2.5-player game, especially if somebody can't use their vehicles.
Yeah.
So at least with this you can kind of get back, you can kind of get kind of people back in the game, even if they maybe have to sacrifice some moves, they can still kind of go back, go back out again. Was it? The other thing that you've kind of brought into the game in order to kind of create a random situation, is the event cards, which can also kind of trigger as well. Yeah.
Oh, they are nasty. Yeah.
Well,
so what happens is the first round, every player basically gets a free turn where everything's nice. The sun is shining. You're getting a tan. You know what I mean? Just make sure the goggles aren't sitting on top of your eyes, and leave big white circles.
That looking like a panda.
Yeah, it's not pretty. Not big and it's not clever. But from basically when it comes back round to player 1, they advance the round tracker to round 2, and they then draw an event card from the deck. And that is a global event, so what will happen is it affects player 1 because they're first, but it basically triggers at the start of each player's turn. So yeah, I used to have it that every player could basically had the chance of drawing a different one.
Yeah.
And it made it a bit too swingy, because you could have a nice card that was in play for 3 players' turn, and then player 4 then gets hit with a lightning strike, and you're like, the other 3 have healed for 1, they've healed 1 damage, and then player 4 gets hit with lightning. And so I was like, that's not fair. We kind of do away with that. It's a bit too swingy. So start of the round, it comes out. So I'll use Slippery Surface as an example. So Slippery Surface is a card that allows the previous player, so in a 4-player that'd be player 4, they can turn any 3 vehicles which do not belong to them to face any other direction. So, they can pick them, they can either turn one so that it makes enticing targets for other players.
Yeah.
So a vehicle has weaker armour in the back, so for instance, offering the back up to another opponent might prove to be too good an opportunity to miss.
Yeah.
Or they can just do it so that they're pointing them away from either their own vehicles so that they don't attack them, or away from objectives. But what will happen is, player 4 does that to player 1, but it's going to come back round, and then eventually player 3 will do it to player 4.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's a nice little thing which basically, although they're nasty and it's not nice that it happens to you, you get a little bit of kind of revenge on somebody as well, so it kind of balances it out then. Makes it a little bit sweeter sometimes.
How many rounds are you going for in a game, roughly?
So the game plays up to 6 rounds. A 2-player game, I would suggest 6 rounds. The rounds are fairly quick anyway, especially in a 2-player game. A 4-player game, I would suggest that this first time playing, I'd suggest 4. But if, in future games, if they want to go up to 6, they can. It basically just depends on how much time they want to play. All I've wrote in the rules is that they need to agree beforehand. So you don't want, player 1 is winning by the end of round 4 and then says, let's just call it quits there.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just finish.
Yeah.
That's probably what Colin would do. No, Colin would probably play for 16 rounds and he would still win. That's just the way. That's just the way that he kind of plays it. In terms of, have you done a lot of playtesting with this? Has this been something which is kind of constantly at the table, and have you been able to get it out further to kind of like different groups and stuff like that?
Well, what happened with kind of prior to Games Expo, I'd taken it to Compulsion, which is Edinburgh based. I'd been to Glasgow Games Festival, and I'd also taken it to Dwarf for International Tabletop Day.
You did?
Hello guys.
Hello Dwarf.
that doesn't sound right at all.
Doesn't sound right at all.
Tyrion Lannister.
Oh dear, let's just not go there.
So, I basically, I started getting involved with a lot of groups. I was working on the game, but I don't like to walk in and say, "Hi, I'm Mark. I'm a designer."
That'd be so funny.
I will make your dreams come true.
And especially if you got your teeth bleached at the same time, and then you gave them a winning smile at the end of, that'd be absolutely excellent.
So I was joining these groups, but I didn't want to go in. That's not what I was going for. So, I didn't want to introduce myself as that. So I kind of started going to all these groups, started playing with people, and then, as we started getting friendlier, people say, "Oh, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, actually," and so I'd build up the relationships, and then if people, I'd say the game is there if anyone wants to try it. If you don't want to, that's fine. Some people are funny about playing games which aren't published games because they feel that it's going to be rubbish, maybe. But I took it to a lot of places. Those clay miniatures that I started off with, I would like to have said that they were rotated out pretty early in the process, but that would be a complete lie. They did way too many conventions. They were a staple, right up to, just before Expo. I was still using them. And I had one proper miniature So I'd let them play with my handmade ones, and then I'd say, but this is what I'm aiming for with the finished product.
Did you have a little satin silk cloth that you covered it over with, and then at the right time went, ta-da?
It was in a little box, and it was backlit, and when you opened it, it went, oh.
Oh
and
dear, that's fantastic.
just see it was like anime, you could see the stars in their eyes.
Oh, I can just imagine actually folk doing that. Which one was that? Was that what colour was that one?
So that was the Reaper Scout. So he's one of the red guys. So
what's it?
One of the
What's the name of all the factions then?
So we have 4 factions. You have the Salvos, who are your kind of people who are joined together by necessity, basically for survival. So they kind of work together to try and just eke out a meagre existence from, what they can find. You then have the Reapers, who are basically, they've got a bit of sunstroke. They have been out in the sun too long. Basically people that have been pushed to the edge, with the way that life is. And basically they've turned them into kind of a bit more primal than, us civilized folk. So they're all about the death and destruction. So the actual lore for them is that they are cannibals.
Oh, okay.
And that they adorn their vehicles with the bodies of their enemies as crude trophies.
That sounds absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I think it'd be rude if they didn't. It's just, it's just a waste of a person, isn't it? If you just eat them and then throw the rest away. So
just make sure you eat the kidneys first, because they taste the nicest, basically.
So then we have the Ruin army. So Ruin, there's no cities. All the cities have been destroyed in this dystopian future. But there are rumours of a place called Ruin, which is basically an old abandoned military installation, which is basically being repurposed, and people hear rumours of it and go searching for it, and then it's basically turned into this kind of shanty town round about it. But the Ruin army are basically the protectors of that, and in this situation they leave the safety of Ruin to do supply runs, bring stuff back for the people. So they're quite high tech guys, so they've got some quite, nice toys to play with. And finally we have Desert Kin. So they're the other end of the scale. They are the people who have kind of shunned technology in favour of kind of coexisting with the land. So they have kind of a symbiotic relationship with the wasteland and the wasteland wildlife. So
they use animals,
yes.
which is the best thing ever.
Yes,
they're my favourites so far. As soon as I saw them, it's like, you've got animals on here, Mark, and it's like, yes, I have. They've proven to be quite popular, and it was a bit of a kind of, it was a bit of a risky decision, I think, to make when I'm making a vehicle game, to have a faction that's not vehicles. But I think it works. I think it's nice. It gives a bit of kind of, it breaks it up from being a bit too samey all the time. Well, I mean, it's kind of, you kind of end up when you're doing a vehicle game like what you're doing, it's very easy to fall into the kind of the normal kind of tropes and stuff like that. So
definitely.
It was really interesting. It was almost like you took it to it was almost like a sci-fi, Star Warsy type level, if you know what I mean. I was kind of reminded of the Banthas out of A New Hope, to be honest.
Definitely, yeah. Except for instead of Hoth, we're in Tatooine.
Okay, so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so actually the Desert King buggy was loosely based on the lizard creature that Obi-Wan Kenobi rides in, is it Attack of the Clones?
Yes.
He rides that strange lizard that kind of can run up walls and things like that.
It's I think it's called a Kryat dragon, I think.
Alright. I stand corrected.
Well, no, the only reason I know that is because I appeared on a podcast about 3-4 months ago, which was based around the book about Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so what he does, he ends up kind of making a call or shouting like one of these dragons, and I think one of them is on like Tatooine or something. So that's why I know. I'm not being a smart arse. It's just, it's one of these things that I kind of picked up in the book.
Yeah, so that was definitely when I kind of pictured, when I had the picture in my head of what I wanted the buggy to look like. That's kind of where I started. I was like, guy sitting on the back of a giant lizard with some kind of mounted minigun. Sounds about right.
Sounds delightful. It sounds like what every growing boy or growing girl needs is a, you know, it's almost right up there with sharks with lasers. Let's be perfectly honest.
Yes.
So, I mean, you've done, all the vehicles are in kind of like the faction, you got faction colours. So, I take it you're going to encourage people to paint these bad boys then?
I hope so, yeah. I mean, I've actually only painted up one faction myself properly. And it's nice, like, I've had the 3D sculpts, you know, the 3D files for a while, and you can have a look at them and, you know, you can see nice little touches on there, but I think it's not until you paint something that you appreciate, you know, the amount of work, you know, the subtle touches that the artist has done. You know,
absolutely.
there's like, the Reaper Big Rig has skulls tied to its exhaust pipes, and it could have quite easily just stuck a couple of skulls on, but if you look at the skulls, there's actually either strap bands round them, basically tying them on, or some of them have little bits of rope that come out their eyeballs across the bridge of the nose and back into the other eyeball.
That's quite disgusting.
Well, they're skulls, so they don't have eyeballs, but, you know, the sockets. But it's just the fact that, you know, that is a nice little touch that nobody would have noticed if it didn't, you know, nobody would have said, that's not tied on, you know, it's defying, it's defying gravity.
He's glued it on. He's using no more nails.
But yeah, when you paint it, you're like, that's really quite nice.
I like the attention to detail that you've gone to here.
Yes.
Prices. Let's talk about prices. Because when we spoke last time, you weren't sure, kind of price-wise, where you were going to be sitting. I take it with, like, obviously, less than a week to go, you've got an idea of what you're going to be selling it for, or asking people to pledge for it at the very least.
I should hope so, or else I'm not as well planned as I thought.
No.
Yeah, so I'm going in at £49 is going to be my pledge, basically, for the game.
Uh-huh.
So, at this point, I'm not thinking about add-ons or anything like that. I do have stretch goals, but the stretch goals are basically all of them are about just improving the core game, and adding more content to it. So it's already round about, I think it's about 1.5 kilos or something it comes in at just now.
Yeah.
With the stuff that's in it, and that's literally not even insert or anything. That's just a box with some bits in baggies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what I want to do is I want to basically just get more stuff into that one box so that you get it and you open it and you can't close it again.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I would then release a bigger box as an add-on.
Incredibly fun-filled, but once you punch all the cardboard out and everything like that, you can't put everything back in the box again like you'd like it to be.
Yes. You did actually mention one of your previous shows, the others, which is bad for that.
Yes, it is. Yes, I understand putting your miniatures in big protective boxes, but if you're going to have miniatures in protective boxes, then please think about where your tokens are going to live, because I've ended up having to stuff. And the others, because it pledged really, really well and did really well on Kickstarter, you're not looking at a lot of cardboard tokens here, you're looking at a lot of plastic tokens as well. So it is, it's a bit tricky to get back in the old box. So £49, that'll get you in the door, and that's it. You'll just be heading to see kind of what the stretch goes. Have you decided on your funding goal at the moment, or are you going to leave that as a surprise for everybody?
I'm a full disclosure guy, so...
Oh, I've heard.
There's no point in hiding anything, because, well, you're all going to see. I'm going to post it online.
I know. I think it would be kind of against your nature and a sudden thing that a week before the campaign goes live, you say, and now I'm going to start keeping secrets. Yeah.
Radio silence.
Yeah.
So my funding goal at the moment is looking to be 22,000, and that is higher than I would have liked, especially for a first time designer. But it's literally the cost. It's the cost to manufacture the game. Yeah. And that's it. I couldn't do it for any lower with the way that the Chinese market fluctuations are just now.
Yeah. Because you said that the prices have kind of gone up dramatically quite recently.
So, yeah, anyone that's not a designer probably won't know that all the kind of major players in the Chinese game manufacturers are putting their costs up by 34%.
And that is going to potentially cause a lot of issues for guys that maybe are in the middle of Pledge Manager City and are waiting to get their final figures.
If you have literally funded by the skin of your teeth, then you're probably in a lot of trouble right now.
Which isn't great.
No.
Which we'll see.
So, luckily, a thread showed up on Facebook about it. It was about one of the other manufacturers. And so I just thought I would double check with mine just to see, because a quote does only last for so long anyway. So I wasn't expecting them to honour that, but at the same time, that way, I was like, look guys, this affects how much money I need to ask for, so, let's be upfront and let's talk figures.
Yeah.
And, tell me what I need to do. Because I was originally hoping for around about 18,000 was where I kind of started at. Basically would have covered the cost of producing the game. But, unfortunately I've had to put up that little bit more, but hopefully...
People want a game, I mean, that's what it's going to cost, isn't it? And, and it's market forces. Let's face it, people have suffered a little bit of a bonus recently with the way the dollar's been, so I've heard, people talking about that recently. Back when kind of Brexit all kicked off, there was differences in how much kind of things were going to cost that way, so it's another one of these things that, unfortunately, it's, I hope it doesn't affect kind of too many people, going forward.
Well, I think the one advantage that I do have is that I've went to these conventions, people have tried it. The reason I went to Expo with a game that I couldn't sell was to show people that there was a product there that was worth their money.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, going to something like that and, for people to physically play it and say, I can see the value in this. They can see all the components, everything that comes with the game, and they say, do you know what? That is a good price.
It's, yeah. I mean, I've seen the game, I've seen it in its kind of original form, and it's a very, very reasonable price, kind of for what you're going. But yeah, it's all very, very exciting, Mr. McKinnon, kind of going forward. It's all, and we can only wish you the best of luck from We're Not Wizards, because we've kind of followed you for quite some time. So from myself and from the Colin Meister, I hope it kind of goes really, really well for you.
I hope so too. Thanks.
If people want to track you down on the internet webs, where can they find you?
I'm now going for radio silence. I'm not talking to anyone. No. The best place to reach me is Facebook is the kind of best tool for conversation. Still, I have a website which is www.wreckandruingame.co.uk. But if you want to actually speak to me and ask me anything about the game, it's facebook.com/wreckandruingame. I'm on Twitter, so you can chat to me on there if you want. It's just rec_and_ruin. Yeah. And then Instagram is rec_and_ruin. So anything with any combination of those words will bring you one step closer to me anyway.
And we'll be putting Mark's home address in the show notes if anybody wants to get that little bit closer to him than that.
If anyone wants to be a creepy fanboy stalker, by law I have to put my business address, which is my address,
Don't say that.
On my mail.
Oh, there you go. No, don't say that. Don't say that. Listen, Mark, thanks for coming on. We've kind of kept track of you since the very, very beginning, and it's really good that you're about to press the button. I remember we started speaking, I think it was October, November last year.
Oh, yeah.
So see you get to this point. I think you had a Hotmail address at that time for your Wreck and Ruin email address, which was kind of cool. But to see you coming on and to see you be kind of like 5 days before launch, it is almost like seeing one of, my kids start primary school. It's kind of that moment. Except, obviously, you won't be in a uniform and you won't be surrounded by 4 and 5 year old kids.
Are you getting a lump in your throat? I'm hearing you sound like you're starting to tear up a bit.
I'm definitely. I've probably got to go and probably blow my nose.
There's something in my eye.
It's okay. I'm so proud. If you want to keep an eye on what we're doing, and we are continually surprised by everybody that does, but we're grateful for every single person that does get in contact with us. I guess the first thing to say is, if you are in the situation where you are Mark like a year ago and you're starting out on Kickstarter, or you've got a project out there that is about to go places and you fancy having a chat with somebody about it, then just, give us a shout, get in contact with us. We're always looking for people to chat to.
Why wouldn't they?
Well, see, currently you're looking at November, which is the only thing. So anybody that's got anything going on in November, December time, give us a shout. You can get us by emailing us magic@we'renotwizards.com or .co.uk, or you can hit us up on Twitter, which is We're Not Wizards. You can hit us up on Facebook, which is We're Not Wizards. You can hit us up on YouTube, which is, I think it's We're Not Wizards Tabletop podcast. You can find us on Instagram, which is We're Not Wizards, and yes, you can find us all there. If you are liking what you're hearing and you'd like to show us some appreciation, head over to iTunes, drop a subscription, because subscribing to iTunes is apparently very, very good for us, because it means it puts us up and above other people and makes us very, very visible. If you like a little bit more than that, then why not drop us a review, drop us a rating. And as we say, don't give us a 10 stars because that'll make us big-headed, but don't give us 1 because that will make us cry. Give us a 5. Get us in the middle. It's a bit average.
A safe bet.
Yeah, exactly. Right in the middle. And we are decidedly average. But as we say, the person that has not been average is the man who is neither a wreck or a ruin.
I might be. I feel like it sometimes.
It's the rather fantastic Mark McKinnon. Mark, as I say, wholeheartedly, just really best of luck with the campaign. Been keeping up with your updates for a while. Really, really glad Polyhedron Collider had some good things to say about it. It makes me very, very excited to see what's going to happen over the next kind of month for you. There are only 2 more things to do. It was 3. Again, Mark, just thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I
would just be sitting here myself talking. It would just be weird. So
it's me on a Tuesday night. And well, I guess the first thing is to remember, as always, that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Mark?
We are wasteland warriors, forging our own destinies. But no, we are not wizards.
And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it is a goodbye from the wasteland warrior himself, Mr. Mad Mark McKinnon. Is that what I did there?
Yeah. Goodbye, I'll see you on the wasteland.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe. Roll 6s. If you see a can of dog food, you better grab it. If you see a wrecker, you'd better run. This is not a safe place. This is not a place to be smiling and happy. This is a place where you will go in as a strong individual, but unless you're very careful, you will end up in wreck and ruin. And on that delightful note, until the next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Say goodbye.